The Plotcast Podcast with the Potty Plotters.
Hello and welcome back to the Potty Plotters Plotcast Podcast. This is episode 46 and I'm still Julia.
And I'm still Elaine.
Elaine,
What?
we've moved inside, haven't we?
We have, yeah. Have you noticed how quiet it is?
Yeah, we'll tell you about that later, but it's your turn to do that difficult bit, Elaine.
Oh, blooming heck. Right, okay.
Tell people how
I've
to
come
get
up with
hold
an
of us.
idea for
What?
that as
Go
well.
on then.
I think that next year, if we're still here, not here, but wherever we are, I think that we should get other people to phone in, having repeated what it is.
That's a good idea. I thought you were going to set it to song, knowing you, but...
Knowing me.
Yeah.
Knowing you. Right, here it is. Facebook, Instagram and X. Ridiculous.
It's a kiss, that
Twitter, I think it is, at Potty Plotters. TikTok at The Potty Plotters. Email us, naughtycorner at pottyplotters.uk. Or have a look at our website, pottyplotters.uk. Actually, people are looking at things
Are
like
they?
that. Yeah. I like our website.
It's nice.
Have you had a look at it?
I have had a look at it, yes.
Oh.
Yeah, it's very yours, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
Anyway, so why are we inside, Elaine?
Well, it's all to do with the producer, actually.
It was Gareth's fault,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Because, let's face it, we are the hardiest of hardy. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, we might moan it's cold and everything, but we know to put our thermals on. I mean, you stuff a water bottle down your trousers,
I
don't
do,
you?
yes.
You know, we're not afraid of being out and down that
No.
allotment in all weathers. But Gareth last week said to us, it's getting a bit cold. Can we do this inside? Didn't you, Gareth?
We take that as yes.
Yes.
And so here we are inside the house, not just inside.
Yeah.
We've moved and yes, and actually the weather is very mild
Beautiful
this
out there
time
today.
of
It's
year.
so frustrating because it's
Yes.
actually a beautiful sunny day. So
And the moral to the story is, let's do what we like doing
Okay.
rather than being told what to do all the time.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so that's that bit. And it is rather nice, actually, to be inside for
Yeah.
a little while, only because of what we've got coming up in a little while. It will make it a bit easier, won't it?
It will.
Is that eating, actually?
We've done that, and you made a very lovely lemon sponge, didn't you? That was
Yeah.
beautiful.
Thank
But we have come inside, but we've done this in various places. I mean, we don't have to do this inside, but we will be. Prepare yourselves, listeners. We will be waxing our Amaryllis. Now, if you've never heard us do this before or talk about it, you're in for a treat.
And that will be an experience most will never forget.
No.
But it's a great thing before Christmas.
Yes.
The Plotcast Podcast with the Potty Plotters.
Elaine, last year, my mum was very excited to tell me about this waxed Amaryllis that she'd bought herself and needed nothing doing to it. So it was literally a bulb that was waxed and the Amaryllis grew. And it was perfect because there was no messing around, no watering, no potting it. And when I told you about it, obviously we had to go and have a look at it, didn't we?
Yeah.
And we had a look, and although it was absolutely beautiful, they were a little bit expensive.
Yeah.
So what did you say, like you usually say?
We can do that.
We can do that. So what we did, we went off and purchased a very cheap Amaryllis, and you went round your house and what did you do?
Well, I waxed it first, obviously.
No, you went. You went round the house and you found all your half candles, didn't you?
Oh,
Because you were so cheap. We went
I've
even.
left them in the other. Oh, I haven't. Here's one that I left earlier. Yeah.
So we went round and you got all these half candles.
That's right, yeah. And the bent ones as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the ones.
Because we are cheap and we weren't going to be paying
Yes.
for anything new or special. So we looked it up and you soaked the roots of the Amaryllis, which is what you've done overnight with this one.
That's right. And then what you find is that the roots themselves, they start to plump up. So rather than them being dried, which I have got an example of, but these all start to change and you can see the white ones actually where they've filled themselves up full of water. And Julia, feel how firm that is.
That's a nice firm Amaryllis. And again, being cheapskates that we were, we saw them on offer online.
We did.
And we bought, well, we didn't buy hundreds, but we bought about 15, didn't we?
Yeah.
Because we wanted to tell everyone about waxing the Amaryllis. And we've done a few live demos of this already.
Yeah.
So What do I do with it now?
Right, so I've got a chopping board, I've got a sharp knife, and I've also got some wax that is melting on the cooker.
Okay, have you risk assessed this?
No, but Gareth's still here, so I'm presuming we're okay, because otherwise he'd have gone.
I'm just thinking you don't normally let me near knives or
No, well, I'll do the knife bit.
Right,
yeah, because you being a little person.
Okay. Well, this Amaryllis was one of the sets that we bought, and it's called Dancing Queen, and this one is a beautiful red and white stripy one.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. So what are you going to do with that then?
I immediately want to start singing Dancing Queen, but I won't. So what I'm going to do instead is put all of the roots over there to one side, and this is where we shock people because I'm now going to cut them all off.
Go on then.
I know. And it seems like, well, why have you done that? Well, what we've done is use the roots so that they can then get all the water into the bulb to make it as firm as it is.
Okay.
So now all I'm going to do is I'm going to slice through, cut them all off, make sure that you do.
That's quite a chunk you've cut off the bottom. Look what's left.
The roots won't do anything now because what we've got is, if I said a wet bottom, but I don't mean that. What I mean is you can see that it is still wet where the water has gone into the bulb. But we're going to seal all the moisture into the bulb by waxing it.
Okay.
So having done that, now you can see that the bulb can sit very happily on its own bottom. Okay. Now, here's one I made earlier. So this has been completely waxed round the bulb. Yes. It's all encased. Yes. And put it on there. And it just sits. So you can use it in a decoration, as you will. You can leave it on the windowsill. It won't make a mess. Yes. And it's starting to sprout already.
Oh, well done.
Okay. So I did this last week and it's already going. So now I just leave it on the windowsill. It needs to be warm, the windowsill, and it needs to be light as well. So things around the bulb haven't changed at all.
But don't put it directly in the sun.
No, because that'll ruin everything.
It'll melt, won't it? Make a mess.
Okay. Right, is that wax melted?
All we do is literally dip the Amaryllis into the wax and coat it. It works better, actually, if it's outside, doesn't it?
Well, you can go outside if you like, Julia. Don't wait for you here.
Because it takes...
Look,
it is. Yeah, open the windows, open the doors.
Yeah.
Yeah. It has a very small neck.
Look at that, how it's already set
in,
That's brilliant.
If you'd like Elaine and Julia to come to a talk for your group, get in touch. naughtycorner@pottyplotters.uk.
So Elaine, the dahlias, ours down the allotment actually got burnt quite early in the season. Yeah. When we say burnt, all we mean is that they were frosted, which is a sign then to cut them down and dig them up or store them or leave them in the ground, however you're going to do. But we have noticed on other sites that we've visited, they're only just beginning to get cut. So what do you do with your dahlias at this time of year?
Well, the reason that I wanted to talk about dahlias, Julia, is because we've had some photographs in from Rachel, and she lives in Epperstone in Nottinghamshire. She sent us photographs because she's dug some of hers up. Right. And I tell you what, she's got a big one. Oh. Yes, it's fair to say that she's shown us on the photograph how big her dahlias have grown. And they are massive, aren't they?
Yes, they are. They're massive. So what should she be doing with them now she's dug them up? Because we leave ours in the ground, although I am expecting a few to rot this year, I have to say, after the weather, but it's probably too late now. But what should she be doing now she's dug them up?
Right, she's dug them up, and the tubers, it's like a mass of fingers, I would say, that they all look like knotted up fingers all together. Yeah. And they've still got mud on them. So what I've told her is, because she's cut right next to the stalk, she's taken off all the growth at the top, all she's got to do now is wash all of the mud off. Now, it might sound a right job, and it is. It's one of those jobs that you need to do when you've got plenty of time. So all that you need to do is very carefully run it under a tap or in a bucket of water is ideal, and get as much of the mud off as you possibly can. And then you'll be left with just the bare tubers. Then turn it upside down so that the stalk is now facing the ground. Yeah. and then let all of it dry. Now, if you've got somewhere like a garage or a shed that is frost free, that's a perfect place to do it. Let it all dry off. When it is dried, then put it in, now you know them great big containers, those storage containers that are plastic, and they're about 18 inches, 2 foot by, well, however big you want to make them. What you can do is you can put fresh compost, dried compost, and not plant it, but put it upside down that. Or what I've seen, which I think is really clever, I've seen somebody do it in sawdust.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, exactly the same. And so they've put 2 or 3 together in these big storage containers, put the lid on, and then keep it somewhere. Ideally, it would be a cool room in your house.
Right.
Now, the difficulty I've got with that is that our wardrobes are pretty full of seeds and gin.
Yes.
And I know that those storage containers won't fit where I can hide them. So for me, I'm going to put them at home in the shed at home, because I've got a little heater that clicks in when it goes to freezing. I know, it's quite posh really, isn't it?
It is.
But that's where I'm going to put mine.
Okay.
And that's what I'd recommend to everybody else out there. Or like you, Julia, leave them in the ground.
Yeah.
What have you done with yours though?
Well, I've only left them in the ground because last year I did, and they were fine, but now I'm bothered. The area that I planted them normally doesn't suffer with any kind of flooding or anything, but this year we have flooded. But it was after I'd cut them down, so they've got 2 chances, to be fair. But normally I just cut them down level with the ground, and then I earth them up with, well, I've earthed them up this time with the homemade compost, and I've literally took a whole bucket full and just tipped it on the top of everyone, and that will be enough to protect them until next year when they start to emerge. And the compost will have probably rotted down and started to move around anyway, and they'll start to emerge, and we should have another show, but I'm not 100% hopeful this year, I have to say.
Oh, let's see what happens.
Yeah, can always buy new ones.
Contact the Potty Plotters anytime on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram at Potty Plotters, or email naughtycorner@pottyplotters.uk.
Oh my goodness, Elaine, we have been telling people to get in touch, and they have been, haven't they?
Yeah.
Which gets us all excited, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. Particularly when we get photographs attached, but some of the things that we've been sent are so funny. So we thought that we'd share them with everybody else. And the first one is some photographs that we had through from Sue, who lives near Manchester, and she sent us some lovely photos, hasn't she, of her grandson with the bug hotels that they've been making in the sunshine.
Oh, crikey. I don't think of Manchester as sunny, but no, when I lived up that way, always rained, Elaine, always. But anyway, I'm glad it was sunny on the day that her and her grandson made some bug hotels. Yeah. And it is a lovely thing to do with kids, and they love going and collecting everything and then keep going and checking to see if they can see any bugs in there.
So thanks,
well done.
Yeah, well done. And let's know what happens. Who moves in? That's a good one. And the next one then. So we've had a message come in from our lovely friend Jonathan Mosley. And do you remember him when he got in touch and then we had him on one of our podcasts?
Oh, yeah.
I think it was right at the beginning when we first started doing these, and I think it was about episode 6 or 7.
Crikey, that was very early on, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. Well, he's been in touch, and he's going to be doing a demonstration of all things of merriment for Christmas to do in the house with things that are in the garden. By that, I don't think he means our muck heap. I think that he means the dried flowers and the dried foliage and other things as well that he's going to bring in. And he's doing a demonstration at Cliff College, which is at Baslow at the top of Derbyshire, and it's on Saturday the 2nd of December at 7:30pm. So what I would suggest is, if you want to go, get your tickets, do it online, and the tickets are priced at $17.50, and it's wine and mince pies.
Well, that's enough to get us to go then, isn't it?
Well, actually, Julia, funny you should say that. We are going.
Oh,
yes, I know. Yeah, honestly. Not a day, it's just an evening, but we will be there.
I think we ought to make a day of it. There must be places we can call at on the way.
You would have thought that the producer would be interested, wouldn't you? Things like that. He could go, could take his wife. an evening out at the north of the county. He's not even looking at us, not bothered, not even listening. So it don't matter.
Let's move on to the next
Carrying on then.
Anyway, thanks, Jonathan, and good luck with that, and we'll see you soon. And another message we've had in is from Anne North, which came through on Messenger, and it really did make us laugh, didn't it, Elaine?
It did, and I've actually written it down because I am going to read this. So she's put, funniest thing ever. Our friends who live in Oxford were on holiday in Greece and met some people from Derby. Our friend said, oh, we've got friends in Derby, and they started chatting. Somehow, the fact that Bill delivered poo came into the conversation. Strange what people talk about on holiday.
It really is, isn't it?
And the people from Derby replied rather excitedly, oh my God, not Bill the Muckman. We know him off the radio. His 15 minutes of, yes, fame.
Oh.
Can you believe that people listen far and wide?
Yeah.
And then they got talking about it when they're on holiday.
Yeah, because Bill's our muckman, isn't he?
Yes, and we love him dearly. So thanks, Anne, for getting in touch.
And then
that was so funny.
And what was even better was that Anne sent us some photos then, didn't she?
She did, I forgot.
That really made us laugh. So Anne turns out to be Bill's wife, and Anne sent us some photos of our manure producers, didn't she? Which were absolutely beautiful horses.
Yeah.
So
I think there's two things there.
Yeah.
Because we never ask anybody what their last name is.
No.
We know him only as
Bill
the Muckman. So it wouldn't have mattered if she'd said, do you know Bill North? We'd have said no.
No. Anyway, if any of you have got a muckman and he's not called Bill, but you want him to have a shout out, we're happy to do that for you, because we want to celebrate all the muck people out there.
Yeah, there are some mucky folk, aren't there? Moving on. Now, this is a long one.
Oh, right.
But
okay.
it is worth it, Julia. There are little bits and pieces that we're going to pull out ourselves and answer as we go along.
Okay.
So this is another one, and this is from Claire in Bristol. Are you ready?
Yes.
Right. Hi, lovely ladies. Oh, she got that right, didn't she? The producer's shaking his head.
Yeah.
That wasn't very nice.
We'll send her the money in the post.
Okay, not a problem. I have taken responsibility for my first allotment. Congratulations.
Well done, yeah.
And need your help, as you seem to talk common sense and make me laugh.
Oh, no, Garrett's laughing at that. That's not very nice. In fact, our husbands would not agree with that. Although you did say earlier that you wanted to be appointed as Minister for Common Sense.
I did, yes.
As well as Minister for Allotments. I said to you, just go for the Prime Minister's job.
Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily include common sense, does it?
No, all right.
So, yeah,
anyway,
don't get them confused.
Back to the message.
Right. I took over a plot with mainly 5 foot high brambles, bindweed, and a random tree that needed chopping down. It's a bit of a blank canvas with a greenhouse. Oh, now
wonderful.
you're talking.
Yeah.
Good soil, well done, and a sad rhubarb. Oh. In a funny place at the moment. I think I have made some progress making a huge weed pile, weed, W-E-E-D.
Yes.
We will burn at some point and finding enough soil to plant garlic in. While I love it there, often I feel entirely overwhelmed, clueless and indecisive about the whole thing though. So I have a question to ask. Is there anything you wish someone had told you when you first started out?
Yeah, don't do it. No, I don't really mean that. I don't mean that at all.
Okay.
So,
wait a minute, I'm not finished yet. There's more.
Okay,
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Right, I have already moved the composting area to the entrance on my plan, as I was going to hide it at the back until you mentioned that error. Well done, Claire.
Yes.
Superb. Keep your compost areas at the front because it'll make it easier for Bill, won't it, when he delivers it?
It will, yeah.
Obviously.
Although I don't think Bill will be going to Bristol. It's a long way to deliver his
You
more.
don't know
anyway.
that. Never say never.
Carry on.
Right, keep up the great work. Your podcast is a joy to listen to. Did you add that bit, Gareth?
No, not me.
No.
Oh.
Okay. Julia, I too have taken a plot on to help with my mental health and also menopause symptoms.
Ooh.
It's good to know that my hunch was right and digging is the way to genuine happiness. I think she needs to listen again. to Jill.
Oh, yeah.
When she was talking to us right at the beginning of these podcasts. Anyway, and P.S. a photo of my weed pile and my dog Foxy, who also loves it down there just for fun. We discovered the Danger Mines sign in the brambles.
Oh, that's good, isn't it?
Brilliant. Right, so let's chop and change some of these things that are here then. So Claire, thank you for getting in touch, and I'm just going to start at the very beginning, a very good place to start. Right then, so she's got 5-foot high brambles, bindweed and a random tree. Brambles, Julia, how would you deal with those?
Chop them down and dig them out.
Okay, as much as possible. For those that you can't get out,
I'd keep at them, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
You would go down the weed killer route, but I would just keep at them, keep digging them and keep weakening them. So, but she did mention that she's created a huge pile from the weeds that she's dug up, and the bindweed, and she's doing exactly the right thing in burning them. Either burn them or put them in the council bins that take them away for composting. If you're going to put them in your composter, don't put them in your composter at the allotment. They're perennial, they're vigorous, and they'll keep growing and growing. So get rid of them, and burning them's a perfect way of doing it.
And the good thing is that you're not on your own, Claire, because we've all had plots like this.
Yes.
We've recently helped at another allotment site, haven't we, where we're doing a community plot, and that was covered in brambles and bindweed.
Yeah.
It's like spaghetti. I mean, if you could eat the blooming stuff, we'd make a fortune and everybody would want it. Yeah. But unfortunately, it's one of those things, it looks like spaghetti, and what you've got to do is get your fork in. I don't use my spade where bindweed is. I use my fork, and then I get on my hands and knees. I can never get up again. But get on my hands and knees, get your hand in there and just shake all of the soil. I'm doing it like you can see.
Yeah.
So shake all the soil off and bag it up. Just keep taking it.
It is an arduous task. And like you say, unless you're going to treat them with weed killer, it will keep coming back. So there's an area of my plot that's particularly bad with bindweed.
Oh, yeah.
So all I'm doing is planting annuals there and things that are in for quite a short period of time so that every time I take something out, I can keep digging them up. The other route is to go down the no dig, but that's a whole different conversation. But you're doing exactly the right thing, and I know it does feel overwhelming, especially when you first take on a plot, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But what we would say to you, and what advice I would give somebody who was starting out, is take it in small pieces. Don't look at it as a giant piece of land.
What did Jill used to say? How do you eat an elephant? A little bit at a time.
I wouldn't eat an elephant, I'm a vegetarian.
I wonder why you looked at me gone out. But what we mean is you don't have to eat it all at once.
No.
A bit like that cake in that kitchen. You can just have a little slice every now and again. Yeah, you can.
Oh, thanks. Well, I'll wait till we get back in the kitchen.
Okay.
But, you do need to break it down. And actually, before, you can literally clear the whole area and then sit down and think about what it is you want on your plot. Because think about, do you want some fruit? Do you want flowers? What kind of vegetables do you want to grow? Because that is going to influence how you lay that plot out. So, yes, it is overwhelming, but just take a bit at a time, and you do get there eventually, don't you, Elaine?
You do, and I invented that psychological digging.
Yeah.
Now, what I do by that is I get a piece of string and I get a stake either side, or a piece of cane, anything like that, and I put it across the width of the allotment. And then what I do is every time I go up, and this is when I first took that one on, is I move the stick about 3 foot and I dig to that 3 foot, and that way I know that I've achieved something, because there's nothing worse than thinking, where do I start? Start at the beginning and work your way either from the top to the bottom or the bottom to the top. But do things in between as well. Don't do it all at once.
Yeah.
Just do a little bit and then break it up, go and find something else to do, and then come back. And one of the first things I'd say is, you've mentioned rhubarb looking sad. It's sad because it's not happy. So what we've got to do is make it happy, Julia. It is November, December.
Yep.
Where are you going to move yours to, and what have you been doing with your rhubarb?
Well, I'm not going to move it, but what I am going to do with my rhubarb is, because it's obviously been there for quite a long time, I am going to split it, which means I'm going to cut it down and take lumps out, because that will reinvigorate what is there. So maybe yours is sad because it's just old and it needs splitting to reinvigorate it. Or it might just not like the place you've got it. So if it seems to be quite a small one and it just isn't happy, I would move it somewhere else on the plot.
And where would you move yours to then? He always is happy. You
Yeah,
see,
mine's
rhubarb does like it in the shade,
Yeah.
ironically.
Yeah.
It doesn't want full-on sun. It gets stressed when it's in the sun, don't we all? So all that you
I
need
love
to do...
the sun.
Oh, yeah, well, there's one to everyone, isn't there? There's always one. Yeah. Right then, so Julia, most people don't want to be in the sun all day. So like rhubarb, put it in the shade.
Yeah.
So give it a shaded area, quite easy. But when you say you cut it up, what do you mean?
I literally just get the spade and chop bits out. So you can see the different crowns developing there. And as long as this got a bud in that section, you can just chop that section out. And what we do is give them away, because people always want rhubarb, and it really does grow like a weed on allotment sites. But you'll find people will always take them off you, whether it's for their plots or actually people just want the stems for cooking with. So
And now is the time to do that.
absolutely, it's the perfect time to be moving rhubarb and giving it away as well.
And what I've done is I have put muck all round mine, because the rhubarb at this time of year just melts. It just disappears, any
Yeah.
that you'd got left. And then when you've done that, just cover it in muck and then leave it to do its own thing. And it's always happy then.
Yeah, yeah. So what advice do you think you wish you'd had at the start, Elaine?
I think that's a really hard question. Probably if I could have if I'd set the path better.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't have a path that goes to nowhere.
Right, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you are going to lay a path, lay it properly, lay it level as well. So put the MOT underneath, so the bits of gravel and so forth, then lay it on sand, and then make sure it's all square and level.
Yeah.
Because really, since we've been doing the community jobs, that's when I found out more about levels.
Yeah.
So I would do that. And also about make good all the repairs on sheds. You don't have to have new everything. Make do and mend, because I think we're really good at it on allotments.
I think that's another important thing actually to mention. The thing that you wish someone had told you is have somewhere to sit down and have a cup of tea, because you need to sit and rest and have a think about where it's going to go. It's not all hard work, but it is hard work if you've got nowhere to sit, is it?
No. The other thing is, it's just a personal thing. I don't like ponds. Ponds.
No.
Ponds. I don't like them on plots.
No.
I think it's perhaps because we're so inundated with water. Gets on your nerves.
The Plotcast podcast with the Potty Plotters.
So Elaine, last week you were very excited about eating all that chocolate and when are you not? And filling the tub with some compost and some peas.
Yeah.
What have you got?
Pea shoots, they're through. In 5 days, they were through. And I tell you what, it's quite incredible, isn't it, that things like that don't take very long at all. And yet, week to week, people go shopping and they buy things like that.
Yeah.
You could grow your own and have them for weeks. I mean, honestly, how tall are they? Inch and a half, something like that?
Yeah.
And how much did you see them in that very posh place?
Well, in the posh place, they were £3.50.
Gareth, have you seen them anywhere, these pea shoots?
Might have done.
And was it a famous place?
It might have been.
It's like Cluedo, this isn't
is
it?
very
really?
old, yeah.
Was it a supermarket?
Name a supermarket.
Tesco?
No.
Morrison's?
No.
Asda?
Oh, God, no.
Sainsbury's.
Oh, yeah.
Hey!
So Sainsbury's are selling pea shoots. How much are they selling them at?
Best part of £2.
Blimey.
That's
See?
half your tub of sweets, that.
It certainly is.
And you can keep growing in your sweet tub, can't you?
Well, I can keep growing, because if you keep eating chocolates, you do. So what I do is recommend to everybody, get out there and get these tubs. They're incredible as to what you can do with them. Get the tubs and we'll tell you again what else you can do with them after Christmas too.
Okay.
At this time of year, I've actually left my apples on the apple tree, particularly the ones up the plot where I couldn't reach them. And what I did see the other day, Julia, was birds. There were magpies and pigeons, but nevertheless, they're still birds. And they were eating them on the tree.
Oh.
When I say on the tree, I mean they were eating them off the tree that were on the tree.
You mean the apples were still attached to the branches?
Yeah, so they were on the tree, but they were taking them off.
What I can't believe is that there were apples on the tree that you couldn't reach with your very long arms.
top-notch advice, no Latin included. The Potty Plotters Podcast.
Well, we just want to thank you all for listening to us. We've had a lovely time, haven't we, Elaine?
We have, yeah. Thank you very much for having me.
And we do love it when we get photos and emails. And if you want us to answer any questions, then please do send them in. I mean, I know we go on and on, but hopefully you might glean something from them. And next week, we're going to be talking about Christmas.
See, I love Christmas, so yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And there's so many things that we can do off the plot, on the plot.
Yeah.
Have you ever met Santa?
No, because my mum always told me to keep away from strange men. Mind you, I married my husband.
The Plotcast Podcast with the Potty Plotters is an Amberland Media production.